One.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Frank Messina, Chair of the Chatham Historical Commission. This is the August 18th, 2020 meeting of the Commission. Number of announcements before we start. Please note this meeting is being recorded and will be available shortly hereafter for scheduled and on-demand viewing on any smartphone, tablet, device, or computer. If anyone else is recording the meeting, please notify the chairman. Hearing none, pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law 30A 18, and the Governor's March 23, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Chatham Historical Commission is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by calling the phone number 508-945-4410, conference ID 488-542-738 hashtag. Despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide for real-time access, and we will post a record of the meeting on the town websites as soon as possible. Not done yet. For everyone's information, the procedural steps will basically be following where the chair announces the application number and address, presentation by the applicant, board questions and comments, public statements in favor or opposed to the application. The chairman or an assigned member will read any correspondence into the record. There will be time for rebuttal from the applicant, board comments. The hearing will then be closed. The board will deliberates. Audience participation is not permitted during deliberations. Okay. The next action that we have is the roll call to see if we have a quorum. I will start. Vice Chair Robert Lear. This is your time to say present. Mr. Lear. Mr. Lear, unmute yourself and say present if you're still here.
Okay, present.
Present, thank you. Sandy Porter? Not yet. Okay. Ben Solozinski?
Here.
Thank you. Stephanie Hamilton? Got to be quicker on the draw. Stephanie Hamilton?
Present.
Jane Moffett?
Here.
Very good, Jane. Don Aikman?
Here.
Alternate Steve Burlingame?
Here.
Alternate Erica?
Here.
Okay, at the present time, without Sandy, Erica, you would be participating as a voting member.
Okay, thank you, Frank.
And if Sandy joins us, we'll make that change. Okay. We have just a couple of applications, a number of announcements. So hopefully it will be a relatively short meeting. And I want to ask whoever decided to hold the meetings at 2:30 in the afternoon should be forced to resign, especially on a sunny day.
Agreed.
All right, and I think that
wasn't that you though?
Yeah, I know. Okay, here we go. We have application 20-011, 305 Main Street, which we were going to hear in reference to Chapter 158 and also in reference to a property in the National Register District. You should have a piece of correspondence from the applicant. I will read it.
Frank, are we not doing the minutes?
We will. I thank you very much. Appreciate that. I spoke with the clients today and they have elected to withdraw the application pending without prejudice and will refile once they have completed plans. Please let me know if you have any additional information. If you need additional information from me, or we will request a formal letter. This particular application was sufficient. So for the public's information, 305 Main Street application for significant changes, demolition for that National Register contributing property has been withdrawn. I believe that is a positive note because as a result of our previous meetings, there was a correspondence and consultation with Sarah Korjeff from the Cape Cod Commission, and hopefully we're going to get a revised application in the future, which is more consistent with the guidelines for historic preservation of a contributing structure in the National Register District. Okay, thank you very much, Steph, for reminding me about the minutes.
Frank, excuse me, it's Michelle.
Yes, ma'am.
It appears, I believe, that I did not add the minutes to the agenda. The agenda that's in front of me does not have any minutes, and I'm assuming that's the same one that's in everyone's packet.
Your assumption is correct. I feel better that I didn't miss them. It's not on the agenda.
But
So
we'll have to do it on September.
Technically, we could do it another time.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Sorry about that.
See, Steph, I was right. Anyway, I'm like a drone. I just follow one thing after the other. Okay, here we go. Application 20-22. This application is for 107 Main Street and will be heard for in accordance with Chapter 158, as well as application in accordance with the Cape Cod Commission regional policy in regard to properties in the National Register District. So we have 107 Main Street. Everybody has it in your packet. I believe we did have a site visit before the COVID on this property. I don't know, just looks familiar. And it is our good friend, Mr. Zebrat and McCarthy. The applicant is Mark and Deborah Fortran. And it looks like, Mark, you will be presenting.
I'm here, Frank. You got me?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Mark, why don't you put your camera on?
Camera's on.
Okay. There you go.
All right.
Hey, Mark, I know a good barber.
Everybody's telling me that. It's the COVID look.
My wife, she's screwed it. Okay. Why don't we proceed?
Good afternoon, everybody, board members, Mr. Chairman. This is the Fortin project. It's familiar to you because, should be familiar to you, because I had came before you, I think, in early spring to add a dormer to the garage. You approved that dormer. Since then, the Fortins had asked to, they got such a nice space above the garage, they want to connect the second floor of the existing dwelling to the garage. That's going to require us raising the roof of the connector. That connector was done under a prior revision when the whole building was renovated under Chapter 158. So what you see before you is taking that rebuilt connected roof off, which is all new material, raising it up, creating a connector with a dormer on the south side, which is going to allow passage from the second floor of the main dwelling into the area above the garage where we installed that new dormer.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. This is a property which is in the National Register District. I think it's right on the corner of Water Street. And there is a Form B for this circa 1850 property. And I believe, Michelle, correct me if not, this is a contributing structure?
It sure is.
Okay. So, all right. Any members of the board have any questions or comment?
Frank, this is Jane.
Jane, turn your camera on.
Oh, there I am.
All right, go ahead, Jane.
Myself and read too. Could this be sort of continued, considered a cumulative? In other words, first the shed dormer and then the connecting roof? Would that add up to more than 25%?
It's possible. Michelle?
Yes, I advertise it as both National Register and Chapter 158 because cumulatively over the life of the building, there have been more than 25% of the square foot in modification. So it's been advertised and you have jurisdiction in both areas.
So,
Okay, Jane, even though it's up to us, even though it is potentially cumulative more than 25%, we could still not send it to the Cape Cod Commission. I know there's potentially a difference of opinion by some members of the board, but why don't we proceed individually and see how we feel about it?
okay.
Well, I'm going to take a roll call just to get a sense of the commission. If nobody is bursting out with questions.
Frank, I have a question.
Turn your camera on.
My camera's on.
It's
You've
on.
got to identify yourself. Mark, can you turn the camera off?
Turn my camera off.
This is
Yeah,
Stephanie
please.
Hamilton. This is Stephanie Hamilton.
Go ahead,
I
Steph.
just wanted to ask if this new addition is going to be lower than the other two ends.
The answer to that question is yes, it will be lower. It will not dominate the main dwelling nor the garage.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jane, Steph, I think you could see that in a sheet A2, I think, A2 or A1. You can see the height, and it is below.
I could see it. I just wanted to check.
Got it. All right, what I'm going to do now is take a roll call to get a sense of the commission relative to any comments or concerns. Erica?
No, I'm not really. I kind of want to, I like to hear what everyone else does first usually, because I don't really, like, it's still, I'm still learning. So I don't see any outward problem or have an outward question yet.
All right, that's good. Steve, you're not voting, but do you have any comments?
It looks fine with me.
Thank you. Donald?
No, I have no problem with it.
Thank you. Jane?
No, it's okay.
All right. Stephanie, you were okay, correct?
Yes.
Ben?
I have questions and clarification. In
Go right
other
ahead.
words, right now, there's a connector. And this connector is actually new construction. And you're going to demolish the new construction, put another connector in that's going to be lower. And does the old connector have dormers in it or not?
Mark, can you clarify that?
Yeah, I'll turn on my camera. I think you're a little confused. The original connector is a one-story connector from the main dwelling to can you still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
The connector that's there right now is a one-story connector from the main dwelling to the garage. It has a peaked roof on it. We're going to remove that peaked roof. The first floor area is going to remain. We're going to be installing a second floor that we can walk on above that, with a new roof and a dormer to allow us to get into the garage from the second floor of the main dwelling. It is going to get higher, but it is going to be lower than the main roof of the garage. The area that we're demolishing is all new construction, which was done under the original renovation of the house. That none of that is historical material.
All right, but the connector now doesn't have any dormers in it. Is that
It
correct?
does not have any dormers.
All right, so you're going to raise it, but not as high as the two dwellings that are there now, the garage and the house.
Correct.
But it's still going to be lower, but it's going to have 3 dormers in it,
3 windows.
3 windows. Oh, just windows.
Just windows, not A dormers.
Oh, all right. Okay. All right. That clears it for me.
Thank you, Ben.
All right.
Mr. Lear?
I've got a couple of questions for Mark, if I can get my camera there. Mark, when you said that the renovations were, quote, new, looking at the assessor's sheet, it looks like there was a major renovation done in 2008. Does that sound like when it was done?
That sounds about right.
Okay.
I should add that date on my fingertips, but I don't.
And the other piece, I think, as the other folks have said, the fact that it's not going up above the existing ridge lines, I don't think you'd be able to tell any difference at all from Water Street. And you basically have to go in their backyard to see that there are additional windows added on the south side. So I don't have a problem with it.
Very good. I'm going to ask, there's no correspondence, and I'm going to ask any members of the public who may be listening if they have any comments in favor or opposed to the application. Hearing none. Mr. Lear, could you move this along for us?
Okay. I want to do chapter 158 first.
Yes.
Okay, I move that the Chatham Historical Commission finds that the building located at 107 Main Street is historically significant because it is in whole or in part 75 years old. It's located within a historic district, and also that's associated with one or more historical persons of the town of Chatham and possesses architectural value or significance in terms of period and style.
Steph Hamilton, I'll second.
Thank you very much, Steph. Okay, we're gonna, if there are any other comments or questions, take a roll call. Vice Chair, Mr. Lear,
Yes.
Ben, Mr. Zolominski, Ben, how are you voting? All right, we're gonna let Ben find it.
I'm voting yes.
Ben, was that a yes?
Yes.
Thank you. Stephanie,
Yes,
Jane,
Yes,
Don,
Yes,
Erica,
Yes,
thank you. All right. We now have a second motion. This motion passed.
Right. Chatham Historical Commission also finds that the proposed work to be done dated July 13th, 2020 will not materially diminish the historic significance of the building, and therefore the commission does not impose a demolition delay.
this is Steph, I'll second.
Thank you, Steph. Okay, any members of the commission have any comments? Okay, we'll do a roll call. Mr. Lear,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Yes,
Jane,
yes,
Don,
Yes.
Erica?
Yes.
Very good. Motion passed. Thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you, thank you, thank the board, especially thank Michelle for keeping this all working. Have a great day. Thank you.
Excuse me, this is Michelle. We need to do the motion on the National Register part.
We did.
You did the chapter 158, but you need to decide whether or not it's a substantial alteration, no?
We did that.
Oh, did I
No,
totally
did
miss
not.
it? I don't believe we did.
Oh, I think it's the second motion.
No, then I must have missed it. I missed
All right,
that.
sorry. No, you're right. You're right. Thank you.
Okay, sorry, bye.
Sorry. Don't be sorry.
Don't be sorry when you're right, Michelle.
Frank, can you ask everyone who's not talking mute their microphone? Because the backflash is like really annoying and I can't hear anything.
I'm sorry. Somebody said something and I couldn't make it out.
Frank, it's Erica. I said, could you ask everyone who's not talking to mute their microphones? Because like it's backing. I don't know about anyone else, but on my computer, it's coming back at me and it's like echoing and it just people who aren't talking need to mute their microphone.
Well, I like your speech. Do I really need to say it again, folks?
No, sorry. I just my ears are very
No, Erica, I appreciate it. So everyone who's not speaking, mute your mic. Thank you. Okay. Mr. Lear?
I move that the Chatham Historical Commission confirms that the dwelling located at 107 Main Street is a, quote, contributing structure, unquote, in the National Historic Register District.
Second,
Second
Jane.
by Jane. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call. Mr. Lear?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes,
Stephanie?
yes,
Jane?
yes.
Don?
Yes.
Erica?
Yes.
Very good. We're getting good at that. One more, Bob.
I move that the Chatham Historical Commission finds that the materials presented this date showing that the proposed alterations, additions, renovations do not constitute a substantial alteration to a contributing structure located in the National Historic Register District, and therefore referral to the Cape Cod Commission for review is not necessary.
I'll second. This is Steph.
Thank you, Steph. Any other comments or questions? Roll call. Mr. Lear?
Yes.
Ben?
yes,
Stephanie?
Yes,
Jane?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Erica?
Yes.
All right, we're getting good at this, guys. Thank you. I appreciate it. But again, keep your mics off until you're ready to speak. I think we did that.
Did the
Okay,
chair vote? Did the chair vote?
thank you very much. The chair will vote yes. Boy, you guys are keeping me on my toes. Okay, moving right along here. Application 20-23. 20-23. It's 79 Forest Beach Road. 79 Forest Beach Road. 79 Forest Beach Road. 79 Forest Beach Road. 79 Forest. Ryan, I think we got a technical problem.
Yep, it was I think it was Mark Zabrat's phone, but we muted him.
Okay. Let me just repeat that. Application 20-23, 79 Forest Beach Road will be heard in accordance with Chapter 158, demolition delay, and also heard in accordance with the Cape Cod Commission regulatory, regional regulatory requirement, as it is considered a eligible National Register district. This is the South Chatham Village, which the Historical Commission has applied for and has received confirmation of eligibility, waiting for a final determination. So the application, hopefully, ladies and gentlemen, you got a chance to go find it down in Forest Beach Road in South Chatham. This is an application for a quite nice little home tucked in the back of some property in South Chatham. And I believe we do have an applicant. Michelle, who's going to be presenting this?
The property owner is Alan Peralt, and Alan, I believe you're with us now.
I am Michelle with my wife, Joan.
Hi, Joan.
Okay.
Frank?
Yes. Again, as I indicated, there is a Form B on this property, which you have. And again, the gentleman is here because this is potentially an eligible National Register property in a proposed National Register district. There is a description of what he's attempting to do and why he wants to do it. So, Alan, why don't you go ahead and give us a brief presentation here of what you're trying to accomplish?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. My wife and I purchased this property a few weeks ago. Michelle was good enough to give us me the paperwork about 6 weeks ago. We had at the time, the approval of the prior owners, which is the same family, ironically, that had owned it since the 1920s when it was built. And my wife just shutting my phone off. I should have muted it. And we purchased it technically on July 31st. But and the reason we're also in the process of trying to subdivide the land. It's on about 1.7 acres. And some people had looked to do 3 houses on this lot, and we just want to save the existing house, which we're going to use ourselves, and hopefully down the road, if we get it approved, build a new house behind it, behind number 83. As the chairman mentioned, this house is set back quite a bit. I would say maybe 200 feet from Forest Beach Road, between numbers 55 and 83. And over the years, renovations have been done. I would guess by looking at them, they weren't done with the approval of this commission, because I'm not sure you would have approved them. But what we're trying to do is basically clean up the exterior, and the Form B that Michelle gave me. This is considered potentially contributory to the proposed South Chatham Historic District. And it's what I think they refer to in that form as a working man's foursquare, meaning it's really like about a 1 3/4 story foursquare, hip roof, basically. And over the years, and I think they said in that Form B, it's kind of a curious exterior. That's a good way of referring to it. There are 2 walls that have some stucco, and every other part of the siding is white cedar shingle. So what we would like to do is have the entire exterior be white cedar shingle. We'd like to remove a fairly ugly stainless steel chimney that right now vents the boiler. It's on the west elevation that vents the boiler and the hot water heater. We are going to remove the door that is on the east elevation, which is a rusting steel, probably non-compliant door, and kind of a squeezed in overhang. We also want to remove a fairly ugly doghouse that goes into the basement and replace it with a conventional bulkhead, and remove the handicap ramp that I've been told has been there for about 20 years. So most of it, Mr. Chairman, is to kind of clean up the exterior and make it more compatible with the houses in the area. I'm certainly open to any questions, but I think that's a fair summary of what we're looking to do.
Well, thank you very much. Obviously, we haven't been in the interior as it's indicated, in terms of the vernacular of just what the period is, craftsman style bungalow. Are there any craftsman elements within the interior? Or was it just
very few. It was a fairly rudimentary house. there really aren't, and I've been in some Craftsman houses. I kind of like them overall. I would say this is more a bungalow with very simple designs. So it's not like there's any unusual. I think there might have been some original beadboard, but that's been covered by knotty pine in some cases. So I don't think there's much in the way of interior detail, Mr. Chairman, that you'd find significant. The kitchen is from the 50s. Yeah, I think that's an accurate description. It's fairly rudimentary. We are saving the doors, the interior doors, which I think have some character. They have like a horizontal recessed panel, like a triple horizontal panel rather. So we're going to save those wherever possible. But that's one of the few details I'd say that would have that kind of characteristic.
No, thank you very much. Not that we have any jurisdiction in the interior, but I just was interested. Had an old Craftsman house many years ago. Okay, so any members of the commission have any questions or comments as it relates to the application?
Frank, you know I'm on now through my phone.
No, I don't know you're on. Ms. Hamilton, when did you join us? No, excuse me, Ms. Porter, when did you join us?
About 10 minutes ago. I was trying to work through an iPad, and it doesn't
okay
work, so.
All right, well, I assume you heard the introduction of this application.
I did. I missed the first one, but I got this one.
Okay, so then we'll assume you're back here voting. And Erica, so you'll go to alternate status on this particular application. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Frank, this is Jane.
Yes.
May I make a comment about the presentation of the application? I would
Absolutely.
like to commend, well, first of all, thank the couple, Mr. and Mrs. Pearl, for saving the house. But I think this is one of the best applications we've ever received. And I want to say why. It's because it has existing drawing above the proposed. And it's so easy to see the changes that they want to make. So I thank you for that. I think it's excellent.
Maybe we ought to convince the town to give a discount in application fee if they give a good application.
That'd be a great idea. Some are impossible to read.
All right. Thank you, Jane. Jane, while I have you, do you have any comments, pro or con, in the application?
I'm in favor of the application. I think it's wonderful that they plan to save it and restore the exterior, which is really a hodgepodge.
All right, thank you.
This is Steph Hamilton speaking.
Yes, Steph.
I think it's a huge improvement.
All right, very good. I'll run down the list. Sandy?
Yes.
Any thoughts, comments?
I think that I agree with both Jane and Steph. It will be an improvement. And I do really like the layout of the application. Nicely done. I'm in favor.
Ben?
Yes, I would never cross Sandy, Stephanie, and Jane. I'm for it.
Smart
Okay.
man, Ben.
All right, Don?
Yeah, I'd like to add my compliments to the property owners. I think they're doing a great job in restoring this house.
Mr. Lear?
Yeah, I'm in favor. Frank, you may recall you dragged me out there on a cold, pouring, rainy day last spring. And we looked at it and said, interesting, but needs something. And these guys have added to something, so I'm in favor.
Yeah. Steve? Steve or Erica, any comments or questions?
I just want to say too that it's Erica. That I agree with Jane as always. I feel, and same with Steph. But yes, I love that they want to also possibly build a house on the lot, and that would kind of be in favor, you know, with what we've been talking about with host lots. And Craftsman houses are so important to Chatham's characteristics. Is, you know, and those were built, you know, working man houses, but they were also used as summer places. And I think it's so great they want to save it. I love Craftsman's too. My father restored one. And yeah, it's great, and great job. Awesome.
Thank you. Steve?
I agree that it's well done, nice presentation. It'll be a good outcome and an asset to the neighborhood.
All right, very good. We seem to have consensus. I want to add that, Alan, with all these kudos on your application, if I recall when I spoke to you at some point, this might become a permanent home.
It may be down the road. Right now, we live in Hingham. We live in a four square, ironically. It was built in 1910, a two-story four square, so I'm kind of familiar with the design. But down the road, it's conceivable, but we haven't made the determination. But my wife just retired. We are certainly going to spend a significant amount of time, even other than just the summer, in Chatham.
Well, welcome to Chatham, and welcome to South Chatham as a fellow South Chatham person. Okay, I think we have a broad consensus as well as a lot of kudos on the application. So, Mr. Lear?
You want to do chapter 158 first?
Yeah, just one other thing. Excuse me one second. Does anybody in the public wish to speak for or against the application? Hearing none? Sorry, Bob. Go ahead.
All right. Okay, under chapter 158, I move that the Chatham Historical Commission find that the building located at 79 Forest Beach is historically significant because it is in whole or part 75 years old or more, is listed within an area on a state register of historic places, or is the subject of a pending application for such listing, and is also associated with one or more historical persons of the town and possesses architectural value or significance in terms of its period and style.
Thank you. Second, please.
Second, Jane.
Second, Stephanie.
Yes,
Vice Chair, Mr. Lear.
Yes.
Sandy.
yes,
Ben.
Yes,
Stephanie.
yes,
Jane.
Yes.
Don.
Yes.
Chairman votes yes. Okay. I'm going to continue, Robert.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the date on the plans. Mr. Peralt, do you happen to know that off the top of your head?
Let me think.
The next
7/22.
motion has a date in it, that's all.
Was it 7/22? Is that what we're saying?
Oh, the date I have, excuse me, this is Michelle. The date I have is 7/3/2020, revised 8/13/2020.
Okay, yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, my phone rang. What was the date I should use?
7/3/2020 and revised 8/13/2020.
Okay. I move the Chatham Historical Commission find the proposed work to be done dated July 3rd, 2020 and August 13th, 2020 will not materially diminish the historic significance of the building, and therefore the commission does not impose a demolition delay.
Second.
Second by Jane. Okay, roll call. Mr. Lear.
Yes.
Sandy.
yes,
Ben.
yes,
Stephanie.
yes,
Jane.
Yes.
Don.
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Okay, we need two more.
Okay, with regard to discretionary referral to the Cape Cod Commission, I move that the Chatham Historical Commission confirms that the home located at 79 Forest Beach is a quote contributing structure in an eligible National Historic Register district.
Second, Jane.
Second by Jane. Roll call. Any other comments? None. Mr. Lear.
Yes.
Sandy.
yes,
Ben.
yes,
Stephanie.
yes,
Jane.
Yes.
Don.
Yes.
Okay, chair votes yes. One last one.
Okay, I move the Chatham Historical Commission finds that the materials presented this date show that the proposed alterations, additions, and renovations do not constitute a substantial alteration to a contributing structure located in an eligible National Historic Register district, and therefore a discretionary referral to the Cape Cod Commission for review is not necessary.
I'll second Steph,
Second by Steph. Any other comments? Roll call. Mr. Lear.
Yes.
Sandy.
yes,
Ben.
Yes.
Stephanie,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes.
Don,
Yes.
chair votes yes. Thank you very much, Alan.
Well, thank you very much. And I'd like to thank the commission, and Michelle was especially patient with me, especially working remotely, getting me documents and taking my phone calls when I had questions. She's a real asset to your commission.
Well, we appreciate it, and we appreciate your comments.
Thank
And we
you.
agree with you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, we have a few items on the agenda that we need to discuss and or comment on. First item on the chairman's report, we have the status of our open demolition delays. We only have 2 open. Seaview Street, 233, which we haven't heard anything, don't expect to hear anything, and 107 Seaview Street, which has had a minimal delay. In terms of recent ones, 389 Bridge Street, no building permit. Shattuck Place, no building permit. 68 Shell, we'll talk a lot about that later. And Cross Street, Jane, there was some talk about a move on that property. Has anything happened?
No, unfortunately, they couldn't afford it. They didn't have any land to move it to,
Okay.
but they really they're both architects and they loved it.
Yeah, it's really quite a shame. We're going to lose a perfectly, just a great little house. And, but we did what we could, we did all we can do on that one.
I'm
Okay.
I
I'd
tried.
like to move on my report. 68 Shell Drive, despite some really nice coverage in the press and an editorial by Mr. Wood in the Chronicle, I'm really, things are moving ahead, but they may not be moving in the straight arrow, in the straight direction. There's been a significant amount of dialogue with the Nickerson Family Association and the Protect Our Pass, which is a organization headed by Miss Ellen Briggs. And at the present time, there seems to be a little bit of a disagreement on how this could proceed relative to the Nickerson family involvement in the accepting of the property and how it would be utilized. So we are in a situation where the owner is trying to do his best to see if we could save the house. There are a number of alternatives being proposed. One is that he is trying to get some clarification from the town of Chatham as it relates to potentially leaving the home on his property and utilizing it as a guest property, which would be consistent with our proposed bylaw, which we're going to talk about, our potential zoning change to enhance historic properties, which is currently, unfortunately, on hold. And as you're aware, there are issues as far as the flood zone on that property. So it's not a simple thing. I would report on a positive note that the barns, which are also circa 1700, I've been working with a gentleman by the name of Dave Wheelock, who is currently a caretaker for the Wing family properties in Sandwich, and the NYE family properties in Sandwich. You can look that up, NYE. They're extremely interested in the barn, and we haven't cut a deal yet, but it's very likely that the barns, which are absolutely gorgeous, you could see where the animals were feeding and the hay and all that kind of good stuff for an old 18th century barn. So they may end up out of Chatham. I wish we could keep them in Chatham, but they're going to be heading to Sandwich possibly. I've also continued to work with Eric Drake for a National Register designation of the property, even though it is going to be moved. That is or has been submitted to a Mass Historic Commission for a determination. The big one, we're looking for a white knight here. We've got the Nickerson family potential, but I don't know if that's going to work out. And so things are a little bit up in the air right now. But we are moving forward with those alternatives. Okay, I'm going to move off on that. The next one on our agenda is the Monomoy Theater property. The owner, Craig, I think it's Craig Clark, and the Monomoy Theater, 776 Main Street, is his request for a town meeting authorization for a revision to the bylaw to allow a theater overlay district so he could proceed was put on hold. And the latest information I have is that the applicant is preparing a petition to try and ask for a special town meeting to consider his application. He, at the present time, cannot proceed for financial reasons, I guess, with saving that property until he gets some relief. So that's not within our jurisdiction, but I just thought I'd pass that on. It's public information. And again, we have an application with him to Mass Historic Commission designating the theater and I can't think of the name of the home, I think it's Washington House in front, the residence, as a designated as a National Registered property. South Chatham Village, National Registered District, I've been in contact with Mass Historic. They're on the same restrictions as we all are with the COVID-19, but they assure me they are working on the application, but they have no additional questions at this particular time. Last but not least, you have in your packet, and I know everybody has read it from end to end, a memoranda from Ali Sabatino, our principal planner, who has been working with me and Michelle and other folks on the proposed draft historic incentive bylaw. So what I asked Ali to do is to summarize the meetings that we've had with the Board of Selectmen, the Planning Board, staff, etc. And, you know, where do we go and things we would consider. I don't really have it on the agenda for discussion, just for a report. But on page 2, the back of the page, Ali has some 4 points, which are steps for the commission to consider. I want to put on our next agenda item, our next meeting, which I think is September 15th. Michelle, what's the date? September 15th, yes.
Yes.
So you got a lot of time to think about it, guys. But, you know, I've got to light a fire under this, and I need to get the town to allow us to proceed to deliberate on this subject and also to move forward with this to the planning board so we can get to town meeting. Technically, 68 Shell Drive would be a perfect example for utilization of this bylaw, okay? And now there are other issues in flood zone, but, you know, those things can be addressed, even though nobody wants to think about it. So that's a homework assignment. And I think Ali did a good job. You have her comments, what she would like us to consider, and copies of the draft bylaw in your packet. I think that's be a good idea for us to do that. I believe I have talked myself out. We have on our agenda, you know, issues on hold. And if we ever get back to reality, there's a lot of things we could do, which is Steve Burlingame on the cemeteries, Form Es, and update of the archaeological report, and the issue of demolition by benign neglect. So enough to keep you busy if you want to be busy. And I do appreciate everybody's attention in these difficult times, but I think we've accomplished everything we can. Does anybody have any brief comments? And I just would, we can't deliberate, but we can get some comments. Yes.
It's done.
Yes, Don, go ahead.
On 68 Shell Drive, why can't it be moved by barge to the Nickerson property?
There's a question within the Nickerson Family Association of how they would participate in this process. At the present time, they are saying, yes, you could use my land, but it's not sure who will take the lead in accomplishing that.
Why can't CPC funds be used the same way they were used to move the Caleb Nickerson house?
Absolutely, Don, and I would be the first one to put that application in. The question is, you've got to have somebody to manage the process. You've got to have somebody to say, I want it, I will take it, I will take care of it. So there's a disagreement between the parties involved and the Nickerson family of just how that's going to work and who's going to take on the financial and other responsibility to do this work.
Okay.
So we need a white knight, Don. I see somebody behind you reading a booklet, and I think it would be perfect for Miss Debbie Aikman to step up and take this on.
I'll second that.
Frank,
Yes, who's that?
is Jane. I agree that CPC, I'm not sure that, do you have any idea about how much money we're talking about here?
It's probably about $125,000, maybe 150, to pick it up, to then move it onto a property. If not the Nickerson property, anybody else have any land in town they think it would be good?
No, but can I finish? That's a good sum for CPC. They should
Oh,
be
yes.
able to fund that.
Yes, yes.
And that's a good use for it.
But we need somebody, Jane, excuse me for slightly interrupting you. We need somebody to say, I will take it on. I will take the responsibility. That's not happening.
I see.
That amount of money also would not
Can I
cover.
say-
One at a time,
take care of
ladies
it.
and gentlemen, wait till you're recognized, please.
Can I just finish with one idea?
Yes, go ahead, Jane.
I did send you an email about it. I know it sounds kind of dumb, but is there any chance that it could sit on a truck until this is solved?
Absolutely. It could sit on a truck, or it could be done. What could be done is that would be taken apart. In other
Right.
words, you could put it in 3 or 4 sections, or you could flake it. You
Well,
could
that's
flake
what I
it.
wrote you about. My
Yes,
two ideas were flaking it on a truck. Do you
Yes.
remember in Riders Cove, there was a camp taken from the outer beach and it sat on a truck in the parking lot for
Yes.
almost a year.
if we could get somebody to step up and take the leadership on this, it could be taken, moved, and put on a property somewhere in town, just on an empty lot and sit there mothballed until we can find a way to keep it. It's a fascinating, iconic, circa 1700. It was what Chatham was all about in colonial times, and we're going to do our best to save it. I mean, we're going to try, but it needs someone who can step up and take the financial as well as the legal responsibility to do this.
Sounds like
All right.
this is Steve. It sounds like there ought to be a steering committee put together to begin to pull together those loose ends.
Was Mr. Burlingame?
Yes,
Well, are you volunteering?
I'd volunteer to be on the committee. To be sure.
Everybody wants a volunteer to be on it. Nobody wants a volunteer to lead it. And that's the problem. Until that happens, we got a problem. So I'm giving this extended deliberation
Frank, I have a
discussion
question.
so we could, maybe get the public interested. Yes, who was that speaking?
That's
That was-
Steph Hamilton.
Yes,
I have
Steph.
a question. 150,000 that you talked about. Is that going to cover maintenance also of the house?
No,
That would
That's
just
the
cover the
problem.
moving, right?
yeah, that's only the cost to pick it up
That would cover.
and move it and put it down. Then you have another cost to restore it, which is probably
it's
$500,000. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Steph, I interrupted you.
And to maintain it.
That's another story. Yes.
Well, you also have a cost of how to maintain.
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
We also have the cost of how to maintain it. Who's
Yes.
going to maintain it?
Yes. So there are a lot of questions, and I just the reason I'm bringing it up here publicly is to let we've got the Ellen Briggs's organization, but it's a big job, and it needs more financial and legal responsibility for it to happen. And
This is
there is an alternative here, and it could stay right where it is and be used as a guest house on the property. Now the town could allow that, but that is other issues that have to be worked out from a zoning, far above my pay grade.
Frank, this
All right.
is Skip Hamilton again.
Yes.
Is anybody going to be filling an application out for the funds?
Steph, in order for somebody to put an application in, there's got to be a plan on where to use it. I mean, a CPC is not going to give you money just to move it unless they know what you're going to do with it. So that's the problem. Okay, I don't want to. We're bordering beyond the agenda, which is my report, into a discussion. So before I get my wrist slapped, I would like to ask if anybody has any other agenda item they would like to discuss at our next meeting, other than the ones we have. Okay. I'm going to need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make a motion to adjourn this meeting. This is Steph Hamilton.
Second.
Second by Jane, thank you. Discussion? The only discussion I have is thank you very much. I think we're finally getting reasonably good at this. Vice Chair Lair.
I agree to adjourn.
Sandy?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Steph?
Yes.
Jane?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Again, thank you very much, guys. It is difficult. I'm going to go get a hot cup of tea. My voice is gone. Thank you.
Thank you.